Okay, so let's get the show on the road here. Good morning. Thanks everybody for coming. My name's Bob Vieira. I'm the founder and the owner of a full service short sale processing company called Universal Short Sales. Right now, we're the fastest growing short sale company, not only in the state of Florida, but in the entire country. I want to share with you guys, I wanted to put together this presentation because there's something happening in the state of Florida right now that it's going under the radar with a lot of real estate agents. It's crazy. It's mind-boggling. So right now, as we speak, there are over 35,000. Wrap your head around this because it's a crazy number. There's over 35,000 active pre-foreclosures right now as we speak. Keep this in mind. I'm going to get into in a second what exactly a pre-foreclosure is in Florida. But a pre-foreclosure, a bank doesn't start the pre-foreclosure process until around like the 90 to 120 day mark. So that's 35,000 people that are at least 3 months behind on their mortgage payment right now. Guys, that doesn't even count the thousands of other people who are just 30 to 60 days behind. So there's a massive amount of people right now in our state that are struggling to pay their mortgage payments. So it gives you an amazing opportunity as real estate agents here in Florida to learn how to find these people, help them with their situation, which is most important, and then create a lot of income for your business from here going into the future. Because I'll tell you right now, this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is an issue in our state and it's going to grow and grow and grow. Insurance premiums are going up. Property taxes are going up in a lot of areas. That's a main reason people are struggling to make that monthly mortgage payment in this state. So I'm going to go over 3 specific ways with you guys that my company finds and helps these sellers, as well as thousands of other real estate agents that we work with. Really quick background, a little bit about what we do. So as I said before, we're a full service short sale processing company. That means that we streamline the entire short sale process, literally from start to finish. I don't know how many of you guys have ever done a short sale or been involved in one, but they're an absolute nightmare. They're chaotic, long, confusing, complicated. My company has a process where we streamline everything. We make it simple. We give updates. And you as the real estate agent don't have to worry about, chasing down the bank, looking for documents. We do absolutely everything. Our customer service is amazing. And then you and the seller could relax and you could do your job of listing, selling, negotiating. And we don't only team up with listing agents, but we team up directly with buyers as well. And then we're actually a direct buyer of the short sales too. So that's the best case scenario. You have a short sale, we could work the entire short sale start to finish, and then we actually purchase the property and you don't even have to market it a day. So that's a little bit, that's a bird's eye view of what my company does. So what exactly do we mean when we say pre-foreclosure in Florida? So a pre-foreclosure is when a homeowner falls behind roughly between the 90 and the 120 day mark, give or take, somewhere in that area. The bank actually steps in and says, hey, listen, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we gave you guys every opportunity to pay us. You're 3-4 months behind at this point. So we're taking action to file a foreclosure with the courts. Hence the name pre-foreclosure. It's the last step before the bank comes in and actually takes title to the property back and forecloses. These are very motivated sellers. They're in extremely desperate, difficult situations. So again, it brings incredible opportunity for you as the listing agent to come in and help them. So let's jump into the 3. Now, before I go any further, does anybody have any questions on what exactly we mean when we say pre-foreclosure, anything like that? Put it in the chat, shout it out. Oh, I saw Brenda said good morning. Good morning, Brenda. Okay, no questions. Let's dive in. All right, I'm going to start with source number one, which is my absolute favorite. I rant and rave over this. If you guys don't take anything away from this presentation today, please learn mortgage modifications. This is the most underutilized and underrated way to get listings. It's unbelievable. So as you start to reach out to sellers that are behind, well, I should say homeowners that are behind on their mortgage payments, whether they're a month behind, whether they're deep into pre-foreclosure, whatever the case is, a large majority of these homeowners want to keep their home. They do not want to sell. They want to stay in their property. You know, there's multiple reasons for this. A lot of times, you know, there's an emotional attachment. It could be their first ever investment property they bought back in the day. It could be their house they live in and that they raise their children in. Typically, there's an emotional attachment. And even though they can't pay the bank and they're falling behind, they just want to keep their house. So the lender offers them what's called a mortgage modification. What a modification is, it's a lifeline. It's a second chance for the homeowner to get back on their feet and pay their mortgage. Now, the process of applying for a mortgage modification is very long. It's very similar to how I just described a short sale. It's long, confusing, time-consuming, and chaotic. Lots of paperwork. But at the end of that application, once the homeowner submits the application for a mortgage modification, if it's approved, the bank is going to modify their mortgage. So they're going to give them a second chance to make their mortgage payments. Typically, they're going to give them brand new mortgage terms, a new interest rate, a new payment, that kind of stuff. And the homeowner could have a second chance. Now, the problem with a mortgage modification in a homeowner is a very high percentage of these applications, they get declined. Because the only way a bank is going to approve someone's mortgage modification application is if they see at least one of two things. First thing they're going to look for is, does the homeowner, do they have a decrease in their household expenses to the point where they can now make their mortgage payments, or do they have an increase in a drastic increase in their income to the point where now they can make the mortgage payments? And guys, if the bank doesn't see either a drastic income increase or a drastic reduction in expenses, they're going to deny the mortgage application. It's very hard to get these things approved. So that's where the opportunity is. And I'm going to give you guys my exact process of what you could do to convert these into listings. But I'm here today to tell you that when you're on the phone with somebody and they explain to you that they're working it out with their bank or they're in the process of applying for a mortgage modification, don't hang the phone up. I used to do this all the time. I'm sure you might do this. And I could guarantee that your competition is doing this. That's what makes these types of leads so incredible. Whenever your competition is on the phone with a homeowner and the homeowner says, hey, thanks for the call, but I'm not selling, you know, I'm working it out with the bank, or, you know, I'm doing a mortgage mod, or whatever the case is, they're going to hang the phone up. It's human nature. Okay, it's not a seller. Bang, on to the next call. You need to stay on the phone. These are incredible leads. And they're very, very low competition. They're very low competition. Before I give you my 3-step process, that's actually not even up on the screen, so I need you to write it. You're going to want to write it down, of how to convert these mortgage mods into listing leads. Does anyone have a question on what a mortgage modification actually is and what it means?
Once them dishes kept the rain off our beaks. We just have different.
Okay, everybody's good on what a mortgage mod is. Okay, excellent. I'm going to give you my 3-step process right now. Like I said, it's not on the screen. Write it down. Now, This is a very, very specific way to convert these. You have to follow these 3 steps exact to a T. And I'm telling you, we have this down to a science. So it's very, very specific. Okay, we have a question. Jane says, where do you find these people? Great question. Jane, I love this question because that's the magic in a mortgage modification lead. You can't find them. So Jane, whenever somebody applies for a mortgage mod through their lender, it is illegal for the bank to put their information out to the public. So there's pre-foreclosure lists, there's tax lists, auction lists, but when it comes to mortgage modifications, the bank is not allowed to publicize or put out any list of those people. So you're actually building this list organically, like I'm going to show you how to do right now. And that's the beauty behind it. There's a very high conversion rate because you're building this list organically. Great question. And this is how you build the list. Okay. Step number 1, you're on the phone with the seller and they tell you that they're working it out with their bank and they want to keep their house. So step number 1 is stay on the phone. Do not hang up. Stay on the phone. You're going to let the conversation flow. You're going to build rapport and be supportive. Write that down because that's a very important piece of this. Don't hang up the phone, okay? Let the conversation flow. As it's flowing, you're going to build rapport with them and be supportive. Underline supportive. Here's what I mean. A huge mistake real estate agents make with these mortgage modification leads is when the seller tells them that they want to work it out with their bank and keep their property, the real estate agent decides to give them a sales pitch. They give them an aggressive sales pitch on why they need to list their property and sell it and not do the modification. List with me, forget about doing the mod. That's the pitch. Do not do this. In fact, you want to do the complete opposite. You want to support them doing the modification. You want to literally support and wish them luck on getting to keep their house. Because what happens is, if you're going to try to come in and convince the seller to list with you instead of keeping their house, you're going to distance yourself from them emotionally. They're going to view you as a greedy real estate agent who just cold called them, that doesn't give a shit about their situation and just wants to make a commission and sell their house. Do not do this. So many agents mess this up. So again, step number 1, you're going to stay on the phone, build rapport, and be supportive. Support the fact, congratulate them, support them on wanting to keep their house. Okay, as the conversation's flowing, we're going to go into step number 2, which is get permission to follow up with them during the modification process. And you want to end the call like this. So let the conversation flow. And then when you're ready to end the call, you need to get permission from them to follow up during the modification process. And I'm telling you right now, if you did step number 1 correctly, which is supporting them and building rapport, you're almost guaranteed to get support, to get permission to follow up with them during the mod process. As I mentioned before, when I was explaining to you guys the modification process, it's very long. The seller is going to be sending tax returns, pay stubs, bank statements, all of their financials. There's a huge application they have to fill out. So, it's a very long process. You're going to get permission from the seller to check in with them. And it should sound something like this. Just be casual when you're on the phone. Hey, Bob, it was great talking to you. Listen, again, I wish you the best of luck in applying for this mortgage modification. I hope everything works out. Banks could be a pain in the ass sometimes. For any reason they deny you or they don't want to work with you, I would love to help you. And, I'd love to help you sell your house. Hey, do you mind if I check in with you during the modification process every once in a while, every couple weeks? Boom, he'll say yes, or she'll say yes. Make it super casual and friendly like that, and then you'll get permission. So again, let's recap. Step one, stay on the phone. You're going to build rapport, let the conversation flow. You're going to support them in wanting to do the mod. Into step number two, you're going to end the call with permission to follow up with them during the modification process, during that long process. Step number three, this is very specific here. As soon as you hang up the phone, after you get permission to follow up with them during the process, go into your CRM. You're going to schedule a follow-up call for once every 3 weeks. Again, write that down. Once every 3 weeks. We have this down to a science. We started doing it once every week, and we found we were just being way too annoying, because the mod process takes several months, and we're just checking in weekly. We found that was a little much. It was getting on the seller's nerves a little bit. So then we moved it to once every month, which we found was a little too long. It's too much time has lapsed. They might not remember talking to you. The sweet spot is once every 3 weeks on the dot. And when you follow up with them once every 3 weeks, this is another very specific point. You need to call and text, never just call, and I'll explain why. So when you call, most of the time, when you call them, they're not going to answer the phone. It's nothing personal, but they're in a very chaotic, distressed situation. The mod process takes forever, so they're scrambling to get their tax returns, bank statements, pay stubs. It's time consuming and it's chaotic. They're not going to answer your call a lot of the times. So it's very important you leave a voicemail with your first and last name. Write that down too, because it's such a tiny detail, but it's so monumental. You have to leave a voicemail with your first and last name. The reason, well, there's two reasons. Number one, you're building a brand. It's the same thing as you driving down the street every day to your office, and then you see that same friggin' billboard you drive past every day on the highway. You may not need that business, but it's just etched in your memory. You're just used to seeing it. You want them to get used to hearing and seeing your first and last name. Reason number two why it's crucial is because you're doing exactly what you said you were going to do. Back to step number two, when you got permission, when you ended the call with permission to follow up, you told the seller you were going to check in with them periodically to make sure they're doing good. Well, the fact that they're going to continuously hear your first and last name, leaving them voicemails, and you're checking in, you're building trust. You don't realize it because they're not answering the phone a lot, but you're actually building trust with them. You're building trust and massive rapport. When you hang up the phone after you leave a voicemail, always, always, always send a text message. Send a text message again with your first and last name. Never just leave a voicemail. Because again, back to the brand awareness. You want them to look down at their phone and get used to once every 3 weeks, seeing your first and last name. Hey, Bob, hope all's well. I know you're still in the middle of the modification process. Just checking in to say hello. You want them to see that. And the magic, guys, here's the magic. When you consistently do this once every 3 weeks on the dot, and you create a system, but that's a trick. Make sure you create a system. It has to be in your CRM. Be consistent. Once you do this, they're going to get used to it. They're going to get used to seeing you. And then guess what? A couple months down, maybe 1 month, 2 months, 3 months down the road, boom. They're going to respond to you and they're going to say, hey, Margaret, thank you so much for following up with me this whole time. And, I can't believe it, but the bank denied my mortgage modification. They denied it. Guys, when they deny it, the only option is to sell. And I could almost guarantee you will get that listing over anyone else, because Everybody else is just cold calling them at this point. You built trust and rapport. That's how the system works. It's an unbelievable way to get listings. It really is, because most of your competitors are not thinking to do this. What questions do you guys have for me on that process, on that 3-step process? Does anybody want me to repeat it as you're taking notes? Okay. Here's a quick snapshot of my pipeline of mortgage modification leads, just to give you guys an idea. So right now we have, give or take, around 130 active mortgage modification leads. So 130 people that were working that exact system I just gave you guys, that 3-step system. Let's say by chance, and I don't have data to support this, but let's say half of them get declined. Guys, that's 65 red hot leads I have in my pipeline just from working that system and following up. You could do the same thing. Let's say it's just your local market and you add, 20 leads to your pipeline that you're following up with during the mod, following up using that 3-step system. Half of them get declined. Boom. That's 10 extra listings. That's 10 extra listings you just got yourself this year by doing that. And this doesn't cost any money. It's free. Okay, we have a question. Valerie said, if they say no, you don't need to follow up. Do you wait 3 weeks and try anyway? That's a great question. Great question. Here's what I'll tell you, Valerie. If you nail step number 1, honestly, if you nail step number 1 and just have a conversation with them, you're not selling them anything. There's no sales pitch. You're just letting it flow. Let them know they're talking to a human being at the other end of the line. Hey, Bob, listen, it's great talking. I just want to say, I think that's amazing. I think that's amazing. You want to keep your house. As you just said, it's the house you raised your family in, and I really wish you the best of luck. If you phrase the way you're talking to them like that, again, you're supporting them, they're almost always going to give you permission, because you're not asking them, hey, do you mind if I follow up with you and give you a sales pitch once every 3 weeks? No. The way you want to phrase it, Valerie, when you end the call is, hey, Bob, great talking to you again. Best of luck. Listen, I know this process takes forever. If you don't mind, I'd love to just keep in touch with you throughout the process. I'll drop in once every couple of weeks just to say hello, make sure you're doing okay. Do you guys get what I'm saying there? You're being casual about this. Nothing is scripted. So you're going to get permission if you word it like that. But even if they say no, I would follow up anyway to answer your question. If they say don't follow up with me, then do it anyway once every 3 weeks. D has a question. Can you offer to do the modification for them if they have not begun the process? I love that question. Okay, I'm going to answer it in 2 ways. Number 1, yes, you absolutely can, D. But guys, be very, very careful. You never want to make it seem like you're offering the seller a loss mitigation solution. Okay? But absolutely, you could jump in and help them with the paperwork and do all that stuff. Listen, if you have the time to do that and you want to make the time to do that, that's the best thing to do. Because then you're not only following up with them throughout the process, but you're literally involved in the modification process. And then if it doesn't work out or it gets declined, boom, you're right there. So yeah, that's a great idea, D. If you could carve out the time to do that, absolutely, I would do that. Yes. Just again, be careful. You don't want to guarantee them, D, you don't want to say, hey, Bob, can't wait to work with you. I'm going to help you save your house from foreclosure. Don't say stuff like that. Just be very clear. Hey, Bob, I love that you're doing the mod. Let me help you. I'm going to help you do the paperwork. Any other questions on this, guys? Great questions, by the way. Okay, last thing on the mods. I'm obsessed with it, and then we'll move on. Here's a bonus tip, and this is the way you can get listings too. So, all right, let's say you're working that 3-step system I just taught you, and the seller gets back to you and they say, hey, Bob, I really appreciate you following up with me. Thank you so much. But the bank approved our modification. We're good to go. You don't want to do this with everyone, okay? But if you know that seller's situation, you're following up with them, and you know their financial situation, and you know in your gut, you just have a gut feeling, I don't know how the hell this modification got approved. There is no way they can make these payments. If you just know it, then what you're going to do is set a follow-up with them for 30 days. Not once every 3 weeks. Follow back up with them in 30 days. Here's why. Whenever the bank approves a mortgage modification, the process isn't over. They put the homeowner on a trial period. It's a 90-day trial period, and the homeowner has to make their payments on time for 3 months straight. If they miss 1 month's payment, the bank rescinds their offer to do a mortgage modification, and they can't even apply for another one. They're done. They have to sell. So if you know in your heart of hearts, you just know the seller's not going to be able to make these payments, you don't know how they got approved, follow up with them once every 30 days for that 90-day period, just to make sure they're making their trial payments. So that's a little second level tip there. Again, just something to keep in mind if you ever run across that. Let's move on to source number 2. This is another really cool one. Very, very under the radar. Not a lot of people do this. Prospecting, phone prospecting, or mailing, or whatever you want to do. I like to pick up the phone and call, but you're going to reach out to pre-pandemic failed short sale and pre-foreclosure listings. So these are people that had their properties listed with a real estate agent on the MLS that were in a short sale situation and or just a pre-foreclosure listed on the MLS right before the pandemic hit in 2020. It sounds a little insane because we're in 2024 right now, but remember, it wasn't that long ago, because keep this in mind. As soon as COVID hit, remember, the government stepped in and they set mortgage moratoriums, foreclosure moratoriums. So for a good solid 1 to 2 years, banks were not allowed to foreclose on any of those people. So what a lot of them did, the pandemic was like a saving grace to a lot of them, because they simply just let their listing withdraw because they weren't getting foreclosed on anymore, or they just pulled their listing off the market, and they stayed in their house. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of these people are not in a better situation than they were in early 2020. And in fact, the harsh reality is a lot of them are in a worse financial situation. Especially what a lot of these people did was they entered these COVID forbearances that the government created. What a lot of people don't realize is when you enter those COVID forbearances, they take the back balance of whatever you owe them and they tack it on the loan. So when these people are coming out of the COVID forbearances, which they're coming out now, and thousands of them have come out in the last year, they're in a worse financial situation, and they have a worse equity position than they had. So these are amazing leads to go after. And what you want to do, the sweet spot that I personally love, I like to go back and pull these leads from November 2019 and forward. But that's where I like to start. November 2019, I found, was the sweet spot for me, right before the pandemic hit and, shit hit the fan. And when you pull these lists, they're not going to be huge, gigantic lists. For example, when you pull like a general pre-foreclosure list, typically there's hundreds and maybe thousands of pre-foreclosures. These lists are going to be much smaller, but they're very targeted, and they're very, very efficient and effective. Because remember, they're small lists, but you're targeting people who for certain had their properties listed as either a short sale or a pre-foreclosure. So there's hidden gems here. And the beautiful part is you guys are real estate agents. So all you have to do is just use your MLS as a tool. You should be able to go back in your MLS and pull these, or there's plenty of other software and tools to do this. Does anybody have any questions here? Okay, cool. Yeah, between this and the modification, those are the two absolute, like, under the radar ways to start to get these listings. Because think about it. Who do you know in your office? Who do you know at all as a real estate agent that is going back to 2020 and 2019 to pull these leads? It sounds crazy, but it's really not. It's really not. It works. We get deals like this all the time. All right, last but not least is niche branding. What do I mean by this? When you're dealing with pre-foreclosures and even short sales, which I'll touch on just a little bit, there's a stigma around these types of listings, pre-foreclosures and short sales. Most people in the business tell you to stay away from them, and they want nothing to do with them. And just remember, when there's problems and chaos, there's always opportunity. Okay? So the two main ways to get listings by creating a niche, number one is in your listing presentation. It's a competitive market out there. It's tight. There's lots of people going after the same listings. I don't have to tell you guys this. You're in the midst of it every day. The amazing thing about pre-foreclosures and just mortgage delinquent sellers, you could craft your listing presentation to them around their specific situation. I'm telling you, you will get so many listings like this. I actually started out as a real estate agent in the beginning of my career in Pennsylvania. And I would love doing this because I knew that all of my competitors were showing up, sitting at the same kitchen table with the seller, and they were all giving the same generalized listing presentation. And I'm sure that works. If that works for you guys in a traditional listing, that's great. But whenever you're talking to somebody that's behind on their mortgage, you want to tailor your listing presentation to their specific situation. You want to say things like, this is my niche. This is why I could help you. You want to say things like, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I would not be sitting here today if you weren't in this situation, because this is what I specialize in. I specialize in helping people in your specific situation. When you say things like that, when you use words and phrases like that, it's so powerful. It has an immense impact on the seller, and they're going to be more inclined to give you the listing over the other listing agent who just gave a traditional presentation. Another really strong thing to do is use companies like mine, whether it's my company or another short sale company. When you're sitting there and someone is behind on their mortgage and it has to be a short sale, leverage the fact that you partner with Universal Short Sales or a company like mine. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we not only specialize in your situation to help you with this short sale, we even have a team. We literally partner with Universal Short Sales to get your short sale done. We literally partner with a short sale company to get you to the finish line. We specialize in helping in your situation. Very powerful. Number two is get B2B business. People forget you could do this. As I touched on before, people are afraid or they're told to stay away from short sales and mortgage delinquent sellers and pre-foreclosures. Tell your peers, tell your fellow people at your brokerage. When you go to networking events, tell your foreclosure attorneys that hey guys, I want these listings. Send me pre-foreclosure listings. You guys will be shocked how many referrals, how many B2B referrals you'll get. Honest to God. People in your office, your other peers, they will just throw these listings. Here you go, Brenda, take this. Throw me a fee at the end when you're done with it. Cut me a check at the end. They will literally, or people will just partner with you on it. Hey, Bob, I see you specialize in this kind of listing. Listen, I'll co-list it with you. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. So just tell people that you want to help mortgage delinquent sellers and you specialize in it. And deals will fall in your lap. And Brenda said, yep, been there, done that, it works. Love it. Let's touch really quick on how to talk to these. Okay, so we just went over 3 amazing ways you guys could get more and more motivated mortgage delinquent sellers in your pipeline. But how do you actually talk to them? Here's what I'm going to tell you guys. If you like to use a sales script when you cold call, that's fine. I'm sure it works. It works for a lot of people, a lot of different sellers. I would highly recommend you not doing it when you're talking to pre-foreclosure sellers. You want to avoid being super rigid and sounding robotic. You have to remember, it's not a traditional seller that you're speaking with. The person on the other end of the phone is most likely going through one of the most difficult situations in their life. They're unbelievably stressed out. They're emotional. The last thing on earth they want is Bob the realtor cold calling them out of the blue and sounding like a robot on the other end of the line, clearly just trying to profit from their distress situation. So the big thing, you want to let the conversation flow. Just have empathy, be a human being, and just let them know you're here to help. And really, on these calls, and really on any sales calls, but especially pre-foreclosure cold calls, you should literally, they should be doing 80 to 90% of the talking, literally. You should be listening, letting them vent and talk and getting information. When it is your turn to talk, you have to ask 4 specific questions. These are very important. Take a picture of this, a screenshot, whatever you have to do. But I'm telling you, I see real estate agents make this mistake all the time of having a really good call and getting the listing, but then they have like an oh shit moment because they're like, oh wait, the seller, okay, I'm getting the listing, but how do I help them? They didn't get enough information. These are the 4 key questions you absolutely have to get on the phone call, so then you know how to service the listing. Number 1, how many months are they behind on the mortgage? Listen, if they're deep into pre-foreclosure, which a lot of sellers are in Florida because it's a judicial foreclosure state, they may not even know. If they don't know how many months, just tell them to ballpark it and do their best to get you that answer. Once they get you that answer, the next question has to be, okay, did the lender start the foreclosure process on you yet? Now, if you're prospecting specifically to a pre-foreclosure list, the answer is obvious. It's going to be yes. Ask it anyway. Did the lender file a foreclosure on you? If the answer to that is yes, your immediate follow-up has to be, did they give you a foreclosure sale date? Guys, do not forget to ask this. I'm lazy, and whenever I don't have this checklist in front of me still to this day, and I don't ask this friggin' question, I always have to call them back and scramble, and it's just, you have to find out if you're up against a foreclosure sale date. I would suggest keeping this as like a little cheat sheet, throw it in your Google Drive or something so you could just pop it up and you could have it when you're talking to the sellers. You have to know, because a lot of these sale dates, it could be next week. You have to know that as the listing agent of when this foreclosure sale date is. And then you need to end the call with, okay, what do you owe on your mortgage? What do they owe the bank? What is the mortgage balance? This is important because that's going to give you your exit strategy. That's going to tell you, do they have equity? Is this just a pre-foreclosure that has a bunch of equity that I could list and sell on the market, similar to a traditional listing? Or do they have negative equity? Is it a short sale? Is everybody good with this screen? Is anyone not good with this screen? If it's a short sale situation, which you're going to be seeing a lot more of right now, I'm telling you right now, a lot of people overlook short sales in Florida because Florida is a very hot market still. There's bidding wars. Florida's in the news. Hundreds of people per day are moving here. I get it. Florida is a judicial foreclosure state. That means when somebody is getting foreclosed on, the process takes very, very long because the bank can't just come take their house. They have to take them through the court process and literally sue them in court. So it gets dragged out. It's very long. Therefore, the interest, penalties, and fees compound against the principal balance of the loan. Because of that, people lose equity in this state very rapidly. So what is a short sale? A short sale is when two things are happening. The seller needs to sell their house, but one, they're behind on their mortgage payments to the bank. And number two, they are underwater. They have negative equity. So the bank lets them do a short sale, which means they let them sell less than the amount that they owe. They avoid foreclosure. They could just walk away scot-free. Quick example, what does this look like? Let's say somebody owes 300 grand to the bank. The as-is value of their house is 250. So they owe 300 to the bank, but their house is worth 250. In a short sale, the bank is going to let them sell for the 250 that it's worth. And the difference they owe, which is 50 grand in this situation, that difference, that gets forgiven. That's called the deficiency. The deficiency gets wiped away clean, and the homeowner avoids foreclosure on their record, and they're able to move on with their life and get out from under the mortgage. And there's nothing short about the short sale process. On average, you're looking to 3 to 6, 4 to 6 months. And depending on how complex the file is, it could even be longer. Questions on a short sale, anybody? Cool. This is another one. Take a picture of this or a screenshot. This is a really good thing to just have laying in your Google Drive for when you need it. This is how you can quickly know if you have a short sale listing lead. Okay, it's a three-step checklist. The first qualifying factor for a short sale is negative equity. They're underwater. So let's go back to the example. They owe 300 grand to the bank, but the house in its as-is condition is worth 250. They are underwater. They have negative equity of $50,000 in that situation. Second thing you're going to look for is mortgage delinquency. Are they behind at least 1 month or more? Or are they about to be behind? Because you'll talk to sellers sometimes that are current, but they're about to be behind. That's a qualified short sale too. And then the bonus factor, they cannot be motivated by money. This is so important. I wasted so much of my own time, energy, and money in the beginning of the business because I found people who have negative equity and they were behind on their mortgage. And then I didn't make sure that they weren't motivated by money and they backed out of the deal. I wasted my time and everyone else's. In a short sale, the seller does not share in the proceeds. They make $0. The bank does not allow them to walk away with anything. If the seller doesn't care about a foreclosure on their record and they just want money, it's not going to work. Do not take on the listing. It will not work. You'll waste months of your time. So have that conversation up front. Hey, Mr. Seller. Hey, Mrs. Seller, listen, you're not making any money for you. You have to make sure that they're not motivated by money. Their motivation has to be to avoid foreclosure. That's all I have for you guys. So what I do have, I created a free course. I created a free course specifically for Florida real estate agents focusing on pre-foreclosure, short sales, and it's absolutely free. There's no, you don't owe me anything. It's just my gift to you. It's recorded. It's recorded training. It literally covers so much information. I give everything away to you guys. We go over pre-foreclosure fundamentals, short sale fundamentals, Lead generation, we do deep dives into lead generation. And then if you're crazy enough to want to do short sales on your own as an agent, I literally give you our step-by-step process, 12 steps on how we complete a short sale deal from start to finish. So I'm going to throw the link in the chat here while I'm answering questions for you guys. And like I said, completely free to sign up, and I hope it brings amazing value for you. So I'm going to stop the share right now, and I'm going to put the link in the chat. And then guys, what questions do you have? Oh, stay in touch with me, by the way. This is how we can keep in touch. There's my personal cell, my email. Get in my Facebook group if you're not in it. You have to join this group. It's a small, intimate group. You have to apply to be in it and be approved. And, we provide short sale, pre-foreclosure value. It's really, really good. It's really good. You're welcome, guys. I see you guys thinking in the chat. You're very welcome. I'm going to get the link for you here in a second. But yeah, guys, shoot me a text anytime. We could, hop on a call. I love to network and connect with other Florida real estate people. So please.
Hey, Bob, I got a question.
Yeah, fire away, Vince, please.
Yeah. So, what if we wanted to purchase these homes for ourselves? Like I'm a flipper. I generally do 5 to 10 homes a year right now. So if something came across that I wanted to purchase, how would we go about doing that, especially if they're underwater?
Yeah, great question. So we would do the short sale start to finish. If you hired us to do the short sale, we would do it start to finish. And it's a $10,000 short sale processing fee on the HUD, and it's paid as a closing cost or 3% of the purchase price. Usually it's 10 grand on flips and stuff because it's a distressed property.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And what's your opinion in this market right now? Because when you threw that number out of 35,000 pre-foreclosures, it was pretty staggering.
Crazy.
And as
Man.
a yeah, like and as a flipper right now, like I'm looking at purchasing a $600,000 property on the water, and I'm thinking, like I know prices are coming down, so it's just like, is now still a good time to flip in your opinion, or should we wait until we see what happens?
I'm still okay. Here's what I did, Vince. I screwed up a little bit in the beginning. So I'm a flipper as well. We buy a lot of these short sales. And once, once like 2021 hit, I was one of the guys who stopped by. I actually stood on the sidelines as far as flipping was concerned because I was like, I don't know, this is weird. I don't know what's going on. And I was completely wrong. So right now, I'm back in the game. I'm flipping. I think just because in Florida, the inventory is so freaking low that even if the demand slows down a little bit, I think it's still a good market to flip because the supply is so low. There's such a shortage in supply that even if demand starts to even out a little bit, I still think it's a good time to flip. I mean, I'm personally flipping. I'm taking on new projects all the time. So
Okay, cool. And you get most of your flips from your process here?
a lot of them are short sales, and then others, I have partners in other states where we do like non-short sale marketing. We market to higher equity leads, but most of my business is from short sales. But yeah, we do other things that aren't short sales as well. Other
Okay,
flip.
cool. Thanks.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, whatever market you're talking about on the water, you probably know it on like a granular level a lot better than I do.
Hmm.
I don't want to give you advice on that, but um, yeah, I still think it's a good time to flip right now, just because the supply is low.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. D said, does the lender allow a realtor who processed the short sale to purchase home? Great question. No, do not do that. You'll get yourself in a lot of trouble. You're going to have to sign an arm's length affidavit with these short sales. Oh, this is actually good for you to hear too, Vince. So if you ever have a short sale that you want to buy for yourself, you need to get someone else to list it. You cannot be the listing agent and buy it. They're either the bank will deny the short sale, or again, you'll just get in a shit ton of trouble for, going against the arm's length agreement. So great question. Just get somebody in your office to do it, to list it. Guys, I just put the link that I sent in is the course. the free course to sign up for. Again, and it's tailored specifically for Florida agents, not everybody else. I made it just for you guys. Any other questions for me? Anything? Okay. Nothing at all. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hey, what do you guys think about somebody? I forget who it was in the beginning. It might have been Valerie. I don't remember, but
It was me. It was Margie Cruz.
Margie, you brought it up. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Margie brought it up.
I'm still here.
Yeah, about the NAR and how that's going to affect. How do you guys feel about that as agents? What do you think is going to happen?
I think it's going to turn the business upside down. Buyers are going to think they could have free access to the multiple listing service and all the documents that we offer buyers and sellers to make sure everything is handled properly. And I'm not inclined to go showing listings to buyers that aren't going to commit to working with me, because then I've just wasted my time and my money.
Well, listen, I think actually, what I showed you guys here today, I think there's a really good opportunity because so many people are in pre-foreclosure to start going after listings, because if you're primarily a listing agent, that's going to protect yourself against any buyers that you can no longer work with. So, I think right now, in my opinion, it's imperative for agents right now to just go full head of steam and build up that listing inventory.
Yep.
That's what I think. Because if you do that, you're good. Valerie said list to last. Yeah, I love that. List to last. And honestly, pre-foreclosures, obviously it's my niche, so it's like what I know, but I'll tell you right now, there is nobody who's more motivated to sell than a pre-foreclosure listing, because I know as an agent, probably in this market, there's a lot of tire kickers. Like, oh, Joe over at 123 Main Street. He said he might want to list because he'll, but only if he gets a high price. Oh, and he wants to beat you up on commission and all that. But, when it comes to these sellers, they're very motivated. Like, they're serious. So going after pre-foreclosure listings is a really effective way to get listings. It really is. They're motivated. They want to sell. They need to sell. Think about that. They don't just want to sell. They need you to help them sell. Jane said, must have missed it, but where do we get the leads? Oh, great question. So, okay, the mortgage modification leads, remember, you're building that list organically, so you're not getting them anywhere. But the pre-foreclosure list, guys, I like PropStream. I'll actually put this in here. This is where I use to get my pre-foreclosure lists. PropStream, and I don't get they don't pay me, or I'm not like an affiliate or anything. PropStream, you could sign up for it. So it's $99 a month. But if you sign up and you're a first-time user, they'll give you a 7-day free trial so you can play around, see if you like it. I love PropStream for pre-foreclosures because it's very user-friendly. You just type in the county in Florida you want, and then boom, there's like a pre-foreclosure tab that you just hit. And you could skip trace all of your pre-foreclosure, you could skip trace it all within PropStream to get the owner's information to reach out to them. Guys, one of my buddies he's a realtor. He's a really successful realtor in the Philadelphia, PA market. And he's been mailers to get listings have been working real well for him. So sending out direct mail. So just an FYI, I just thought of that. That might help you because we're talking about going to aggressively get listings. He said that's been working really well for him lately. So keep that in mind. Any other questions, guys, or any other input on that NAR, on the rules? All right. Thanks again for coming. And, I hope you guys could take what I showed you here today, take at least a little bit of it and go, especially those mods, go after those modification leads. But yeah, take that course, enjoy it, reach out to me anytime. I'd love to work with you guys. I'd love to just help you answer any questions you have. So
Thank you very much, Bob.
thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming. I look forward to connecting with you guys.
You can count on it.
Take care. Oh, by the way, if you have short sale leads, contact us. We don't touch the agent's commission. We don't, we don't charge the seller or the agent. I was just explaining to Vince, the buyer pays our fee, or I will buy the short sale as well because I'm an investor. So, it's a free service. It's a no-brainer. Don't do those short sales yourselves. You'll get gray hair. Later, guys. Have a great weekend. Look forward to connecting. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Take care.